Today, I'm talking to Ronsley Vaz, computer scientist, entrepreneur, founder of AI Geeks and a program called WriteFlow. Ronsley's created over 1,500 podcast episodes himself. He's the author of the book Amplify. And I can just tell he's already a new friend just from getting to know him a few minutes here before we've gotten going. So welcome, Ronsley.
Eben, this is such a pleasure. I'm so glad to have this conversation, obviously because of artificial intelligence and you being in this business online space for such a long time. I'm excited. Let's do this.
Awesome. All right. So you started to tell me you're a computer scientist. Will you just give us a little few-minute intro just so that folks, can have a sense of who you are and what your passions are?
Yeah, I feel like artificial intelligence has just sort of awoken the beast inside me, even though I was like such a prolific podcaster for all these years. And I feel like I'm Neo in the Matrix, and I just want people to see what I see, because of when I went through computer science, there were two concepts that were fascinating when I did my university. One of them was the blockchain, which was just a theory. It was like, oh, this could potentially happen. But artificial intelligence was already pretty cemented in the sense we knew machine learning, we knew how that was working, we knew that we could get a silicon-based intelligent form from the machines. We just did not have fast computers or processing power. We did not have fast networks to be able to access data, and we did not have cheap data storage available. Now, fast forward to 2020, 2021, 2022, when all that became a lot easier, that suddenly became a thing. And now to see it in action is so beautiful to watch. I am really, really excited for what is to come. And I'm also excited to have conversations about it, because I do feel like artificial intelligence will be easily the biggest conversation of our lifetime.
Yeah. As a computer scientist, because it's interesting, not many people understand entrepreneurship and marketing and really actually know, you know what I'm saying, the theory and so forth. What is this? What is this artificial intelligence?
Very simply, it is how we are carbon-based intelligent form. If you look at evolution, we've evolved to a point where we have become intelligent and our brains are bigger. We can take data and decipher it, make connections. We just have created a silicon-based intelligent form. And by the way, the machines are already smarter than us. The only problem we have, and it's a big problem, is as the most intelligent species on the planet, we've done some pretty dumb stuff. And if we go by that example, the machines don't really need us. That's why we got to have this conversation. That's why we got to change the way we operate. And that's why collaboration and empathy is so important going forward, because gone are the days where someone has to lose for you to win. So artificial intelligence is not search. It's not just information. It is taking information and using it using machine learning. So it learns, it uses deep learning. And we've got something really interesting that we still do not understand, which is the black box effect. How artificial intelligence comes up with certain ideas when we've not given it the input is absolutely fascinating. It's just like us when we have this brain stroke and we have this great idea and we're like, where did it come from? That's actually happening right now, and it's called the black box effect.
I was teaching a group earlier today, and I stumbled across something when I share this that kind of helps people to get it a little bit, which is Alan Turing, in one of his original papers, he proposed that we could build a machine that could play checkers better than the person who made it. And there's something that's a simple example, but it speaks to what you're saying there. It's like, could you make a machine that actually can do something that you would think that only a human could do, but do it better? And then that kind of opens the door to help people realize, because I'm with you. I think that this is the biggest thing. I actually think it's the biggest thing that ever happened. It's going to have the biggest implications of anything.
Yeah, and I think it's built on different ages, right? You see the age, the industrial age. Industrial age had to happen for the information age to come. And the information age had to happen for the intelligence age to come, which we're in right now. And all those had to be this progression to where we are right now. Alan Turing is obviously the godfather of the whole proposition when it comes to machines thinking. And by the way, the checkers piece was done a long time ago. This was years and years ago. And then the more fascinating thing is how the machines can play the game Go. Go is like one of the most complicated games because there's so many possibilities in each move. But right now, computers, whether it's chess, checkers, Go, it doesn't matter what it is, they are the reigning champions. There's no human that can beat a computer right now.
Yeah, I was also reading that, back then when they were trying to crack the Enigma machine, it took, years to figure out all this stuff, build it, and then, all this time to crack it. Now you can give that to an AI, and in a few seconds, it's like, boom, the acceleration,
We've gotten to a point right now where we are at the edge of quantum computing, and quantum computing is a lot faster than the computers we have right now. So if you think right now artificial intelligence is fast, quantum computing is going to change that quite drastically.
You said that it's not search. And I think it's a great point, because so many people are just sitting down, they're going, okay, great, this is like Google. And what is it? Okay, so it's not search. What is it? And what's the difference?
Well, it's like asking someone else to think for you, or it's like asking someone else. So there's a lot of, right now, when you think about what as humans we're dealing with anxiety, we're dealing with depression. We've got like so many things going on in our brain because we are overloaded, overworked, so much information coming in. But we can take that information and decipher it through artificial intelligence, which is really good at these three things, which we are really bad at. It's really good at accuracy, it's really good at speed, and it's really, really good at finding connections and getting all that information and then making the connection. So we can't keep all that in our brain at one time. So the ability for the machines to take that information and then learn from it because of the parameters in the model that is being used. So ChatGPT 4, for example, has reportedly over 1.7 trillion parameters, and GPT 3.5 has 170 billion parameters. And that might not mean much, but it's a big exponential change in the size of the model. And because of the size of the model, it is a lot smarter than the previous version. So being able to use that data and you give it a really good command and a good prompt will allow it to think for you. It'll allow it to do some really cool analysis for you, which probably would take you a lot of time. For example, I was in Dubai a couple of months ago, and I met with a gentleman who does a lot of strategic work with different players, from the ICC World Cup to different other businesses. And he said to me, okay, Ronsley, I have a client that transports dangerous goods. I'm like, oh, interesting. I said, when you started, what kind of work did you do for them? Oh, like a SWOT analysis. And I'm like, all right, well, let's do a SWOT analysis on this company. And I put it into my program called WriteFlow, and in 15 seconds, it gave me a SWOT analysis. And he looked at it and he went, dude, my team of 7 people took 3.5 weeks to give me this report. And that is the power of artificial intelligence. It's speed at ridiculous speeds. I've not seen this kind of speed. And accuracy and the ability to break something down, phenomenal.
Hey, quick question for you. What are you learning from this interview? And what do you want to learn next? Well, you probably want to stay ahead of the curve with AI just like we want to. And we want to be your top resource for interesting, cutting-edge AI tools and knowledge here on Metamind. We're finding and interviewing interesting experts from different worlds, different industries, and then we're using this knowledge so we can keep up with AI and improve our success, improve our quality of life. So stay with us on this journey. So first, click on the subscribe button, which you'll find under the video, so that YouTube puts this into your feed when we release new interviews with AI experts. And if you're enjoying this interview, please give me a like to let others know that this is the real deal. And also, if you know someone who's interested in what we're talking about here, then send this interview to them so that they can learn with you. And I also want to hear from you. So go down to the comments below and let me know, what's your favorite prompt or prompting technique? What are your favorite AI resources or tools? What are you learning from this conversation? Do you disagree with anything we're saying here? And also, what else would you like to learn? Who would you like me to interview here on Metamind? All right, well, go and subscribe, leave me a comment below, and back to our interview. Yeah, it is. And you can give it combinations of your target audience or clients or personality insights, and then ask it to infer other things. And the models are not very big. That's that we've data compressed intelligence into these. It's just, okay, what is it, by the way? What the hell is it? You're a computer scientist. Explain this shit to us.
So what do you mean by what is it? Like what
yeah, like, okay, so how does it work? In other words, I love asking people this, how does it work? What is this thing doing that it's able to appear like it's got a 200 IQ and be able to do a team of 7 could do in 3 weeks, instantly? What's it doing?
So when you think of a team of 7, right? There's what are the problems that come up with a team of 7? The connection piece between the 7, transferring information between 7 people is a lot. Think about it. I mean, we've all run businesses, we've got teams. As soon as we add one more person to the team, it becomes more complicated to transfer information. Machines can do that like that. That's the power. That's the thing that we got to understand, is we're trying to compare ourselves to the machines. And here's the joke, is we can't compare ourselves to the machines. When there was a time where we used to dig our own holes in the ground, and now we've got machines to do that. There used to be a time we used to wash our own clothes, and now it's a bit weird if someone, especially in the first world, if they wash their own clothes, while they can just press a button, and they can even dry their clothes by pressing a button. A lot has changed, and we are in this time where the computers can take this information, and using deep learning and machine learning, which I feel like is pretty complicated, because you got to first explain the different components, you got to explain logic. There's lots of different elements here to then go deeper into machine learning and how that works. But the key to this is the ability for the different data points to be connected. And when one machine learns, all the machines learn. And that's the power. The big change here is information is freely transmitted between all the components that are required to make the decision or make the intelligence piece, which is why the speed is so quick.
I heard from Alexander that you're good at plugging this into like Google Docs and using it in conjunction with other things.
Yeah, I just recorded. In fact, I just started a new podcast called My AI Love Affair.
Now you're married, so this is a little tongue in cheek, I think, right?
Yeah, it is totally. My AI Love Affair, how I stopped being married to working long hours. So that's the name of the podcast. And I decided to do 3 episodes a week, short episodes, 15 minutes. And Monday is a growth tactic. So as a business owner, you have different growth tactics, right? I want to create a landing page. I want to ideate my new product. I want to put a new podcast out. I want to, whatever. And it's the growth tactic, and then using AI to implement the growth tactic. And on Fridays, I do a tech stack where I break down a certain element of artificial intelligence. Today, I did ChatGPT Plugins. And if you don't know what ChatGPT Plugins are, whoever's watching, they are just like adding a computer over your intelligence piece. So not only that you have intelligence coming in, that intelligence data that comes in as the output can be used onto a different plugin that will allow you to make more sense of that data. So, you can do some really phenomenal things. Code interpreter, wow, what a big change to ChatGPT. So you can use artificial intelligence in every aspect of your life. For example, I'm in Hawaii right now, and before I was at the airport, I was like, hey, I'm going to be in Hawaii for 8 days, and I've got an event I'm speaking at, and there's all these guidelines. Can you design for me a travel itinerary that does this X, Y, and Z? So it'll be a travel agent. And it did a phenomenal job. Like, it gave me places that I needed to go without letting me cross over paths, if that made sense.
Mm-hmm.
And extremely intelligent, because it let me go in one direction of the island on one day, come back, and then go into and I was like, wow, if I had to give this to my assistant, I don't even know how long this would have taken.
Yeah, the plugins, it's almost like being able to run another piece of software that on top of this super intelligence. And they're just coming out now. And I mean, we've only been at this for less than a year. I mean, this has all been happening for like 8 months now, right? So where's this going?
Well, no, I think we are only aware of it for the last little bit. It has been around for a long time. Like I said, when I did my computer science, which was 97 to 2001, we knew a lot of these components then, and we knew that it was possible. So it was around, and it was actually being used over the last 8-9 years.
Mm-hmm. I'm speaking, just to be clear, I'm speaking about the generative intelligence, the stuff like that makes like Midjourney and ChatGPT, like that stuff is just a few years in the real sense. If you
I mean, available to the public. I mean, this kind of stuff was available before, just that the public didn't have access to it. So it was available through big supercomputers. And now what we're doing with ChatGPT is there's a massive supercomputer that when we pay our $20, we're actually going and saying, hey, can I have some time on this supercomputer? And we're giving that supercomputer information or prompts, and then it's using its computing speed and its networking speed, and then it's using all the data that it has, and it's giving us the result, which a couple of years ago, that wouldn't have been possible, because we didn't have that kind of speed, internet speed. We didn't have that kind of data storage to be able to give it easily to the public for them to access. And now the computer that's in my watch is 10 times faster than the first computer I owned. So a lot of that is changing.
Yeah, and it's so shocking when you use it, because like you were saying, the speed, when you actually see something with your own eyes that's doing something that is, I don't know, 100 or 1,000 times faster than you could do it with your own mind, and you're watching it happen, it has a strange effect. It has this humbling effect on you, Yeah.
Hopefully it's humbling. A lot of us are getting afraid as a result, because as in general, we want to control everything, and if we can't control this, what happens? And initially, when we started talking, we're talking about kids, and it's a similar, very, very similar example that can be put over this artificial intelligence, because right now AI is a child, and it's learning from us. And if we act like the parents that used to be, do as I say as opposed to do as I do, these kids are going to turn out very different. And we know differently now in today's world. And now parenting has changed quite drastically to, do as I do. I'm the example, and you learn from me. And parents are changing their way of parenting. That needs to be taken into AI.
That's beautifully said. It's really just very, very well said.
I've never thought of it before, so thank you for this the prompt to be able to think of that.
Yes. Well, tell me, prompting. You're bringing up prompting here. So prompting is the language that we use to communicate with the generative AI, and there's a paradox that I find. I would love to get your thoughts on this, right? So there's a paradox. The whole thing was trained on human language, I mean, the kind of like the LLMs kind of thing. And so they're trained on it. So they run natively on it. It's also been designed to use just natural language. And so it has this deceptive quality of thinking that if you just communicate with it like a person, then you're going to get good results. But then when you start going a little bit deeper and learning a little bit about prompting, you change the results. They can change dramatically. So maybe you could like, what is prompting? How does it work? How do you improve?
Yeah, this is a great question. And again, a download from somewhere has come in. So when I think about entrepreneurship, the biggest jump for an entrepreneur is going from a solopreneur to getting a team, or even one person, the first person.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of excuses at that point in terms of, oh, we didn't get the right person, they don't do what we want them to do, so on and so forth. And usually, once you mature as an entrepreneur, you realize that we did not delegate properly. We did not give it the right information. We did not give the people the right information for them to know, because we've been involved in whatever we were delegating for so long, and we just expect someone who has just come in to know exactly and have the context that we have. They don't. It's the same thing with AI and prompting. And that's the big change right now. What is ChatGPT is it's able to take human language, convert it into code and machine language, and convert that back into human results, right? But without context, it is useless, because it's going to give you a very general approach to whatever you've given it. It's the same with a new employee or a new team member that you bring on, and you don't give them enough onboarding, enough context, enough ideas and training to understand the different systems that are around them that have already been implemented. That's the context you got to give the prompt when you're asking for certain information from ChatGPT or any sort of language model that you're using, whether it's Bard or anything else. The context is so important, so that you can give it guardrails around what you're asking of it, so that it doesn't go in different directions to do whatever it thinks that it should be doing. If that makes sense.
It's funny. You're Australian, so you said to give it what sounds to me kind of like guardrails, but kind of like God rails too. And it's I don't know which one to think when I think about the AI. When I'm prompting, I'm often prompting and I think to myself, should I be saying please? Because sometimes you see people with prompts and they're kind of rude and demanding in their prompting, and I'm thinking to myself, that's probably not a good habit to get into,
No, yes, absolutely. I mean, like I said, they're learning. It's a child right now. AI is a child, and it's learning from everything we're putting into it. That's why this is more important. This conversation, I believe that this conversation is more important because of that. Everyone's looking at it from the efficiency point of view and the accuracy point of view and how much work you can get done in the productivity point of view. And I'm here going, well, if we don't change our attitude, we won't be existing in a few years from now, in a few decades from now, and maybe a few centuries from now, because if the machines behave just like we did as the most intelligent species, and destroyed ecosystems and destroyed species and just went on doing whatever we pleased because we were the most intelligent species, then going by that example, we're not going to exist. So we've got to change our attitude. And that's why I think this is the most important conversation of our lifetime, because this could end us as a species.
And that's a heavy thing. And it really is a possibility that most people are not considering. By the way, just so you know kind of where I stand, after looking at everything, and I've been down a lot of these rabbit holes I've been into Ray Kurzweil, and I know a lot of those people in the rationalist community in Silicon Valley and so forth. So maybe 20 years I've been in this, at the fringes of this conversation. And I've kind of chosen to go 80% optimistic, right? 80% optimistic. I think we can do something positive here, and 20% pessimistic. But I let myself in the 20% look at all of the possibilities, to really look at them, because it's very serious. It's very serious. Like nuclear weapons is, I think, a good metaphor, but not even anywhere close, right?
Yeah. And if you look at how the problem is governments, right? Governments taking control the wrong way, because if you look at how we dealt with COVID-19, for example, which is a recent change. So obviously it happened, it changed the way we operated. Governments had to respond. They didn't do a great job. They first ignored it, then they over analyzed it, and they did all these different things and kind of gave us all this information that wasn't right. Unfortunately, if that happens, we're not in the best place. So we've got to really think about this. And that's why the conversation, like I mentioned, is so important. It doesn't matter who's having it, whether it's with a child sort of trying to explain this to them, and like the questions you're asking me, even, it's like allowing me to think and have better understanding of how we can do this better. Because, you and I, at a point when we first started talking, we were at a point where it's all about collaboration. It's all about finding the right people to do business with, do life with, to do it all, with the similar like-minded people. And that's, I feel, the change, because there was a time where if we had to exist and we had to exist safely, then we had to build these massive walls around us and make sure that the other tribe do not attack us and take our land, and so on and so forth. That isn't the case anymore. Like, the world has changed, and we are better together than we are by ourselves.
Yeah. And when you're talking about the leaders, I mean, I just saw a video from, I don't like to, talk shit about people kind of thing and, speak negatively, but, a video with our vice president of our country talking about AI and what it is. And I was horrified. I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, so this is what the people that are running the world think that this is, and this is what they're telling everyone that this is. Okay. So we got a lot of work to do. We have a lot of education to do. I mean, I don't even know what it is, but I kind of know what it is. And I feel like if we could just get a healthy respect for it, healthy kind of relationship with it, it's going to make a big difference.
So even as a computer scientist, or even someone that has been deep into the AI, so, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm the person, but if there was someone who has been working with AI for a long time and they said, hey, I know exactly what's going to happen, I'm going to say that they don't know what they're talking about. And probably when a politician gets asked this question, they need to show that they know what they're talking about. So they say whatever they feel like saying. And by the way, Eben, I've spoken at a few AI conferences over the last few months, and I've followed or opened for some phenomenal people who've been in the business world for ages. And even they are not saying the right things. They are not saying, they're not giving the people the right information. They're doing the same thing like the politicians, and just giving information without knowing whether it's true or not. And it seems like that education piece and being in the learning phase, always being in the learning phase, is going to be important, especially for us, because we can't say that we know it all. No one can. And being able to have the conversation and the perspective of different people allow us to really improve our intelligence. So I think that's the way to go forward, in my opinion.
On a practical note, any little favorite prompting hacks, like think step by step, or any little favorites that you've got or you've picked up along the way that people could use to help them get better results or communicate better?
Yeah, plenty. Obviously, the first thing when you're signing a prompt is asking it to act like something. So that's the first way that you can really get it to know what you're talking about in terms of context. So act like a best-selling author and write me this paragraph. Act like a expert marketer and write me this landing page. Really powerful. Another really cool thing to do is use a plugin. like Web Pilot or something that can look through the internet and say, find me the top 5 performing landing pages in my industry, which is X, that helps an audience that is Y. And it'll go and do its research and come back. Then you say, okay, now that you've analyzed these, now that you've given me this list, analyze these and give me a landing page that I want to create for my audience on this product. So it'll take the best of that and then create this landing page template that you can use. Or you can look at a landing page template as an example and say, this worked really well. Now you put that into ChatGPT and say, analyze this, break it down into a template. It'll do that and then use that template to create one for yourself. And you can do that in seconds, like really quickly, right? Those are really powerful things to do. And one of the most powerful things to do is called recursion. And that's a computer science term. It is using the output of the first input that you gave it as the next input to the next prompt. So whatever it is that you're doing, use recursion in the sense that you say, hey, let's do this first. And based on this input, based on this output, let's create that output as the new input for my next prompt. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for those. Those are wonderful. Okay, quick action step here. So the key is learning how to prompt better. You start out prompting by just asking questions and talking to AI like it's a helper, but you quickly realize that getting better at prompting is a huge accelerator and game changer for your own success in life. So these prompts will not only help you get a lot more done faster and accelerate your success, but they'll also help you really get prompting and get better at it. You can get all of these as a gift from me just by going to metamind.co/gift. That's metamind.co/gift, and I'll put that link below, and then just opt in to get it. I've also created a powerful video for you called AI in the Future of Business and Work and Success that demonstrates some of the key mindsets and prompting strategies to help you get up to speed and get a lot more out of generative AI. And it's also included as a free gift when you register. So just head over to metamind.co/gift to get your AI Accelerator Prompt Pack and the other free goodies. All right, back to our interview. I mean, what's your message to people who are, because most people are still just coming across this. I mean, even now, if I get on a class, I was on with 30 people or something today, and I said, okay, who's been using this? Who's going to be using it? And a lot of people now have used this stuff a little bit. And after we got in a little ways, and I was teaching some prompting and nothing like really sophisticated, but just trying to help teach them to think about it. After we got in, an hour or so, I said, okay, now let me ask you, who really understood what this was? Who really got it before you came here? And only a couple of people raised their hand. And again, we were not in very deep. We were, still pretty superficial. So I'm realizing that as of today, middle of 2023, most people still are really only scratching the surface. So to all the people out there that are maybe just getting started, maybe they just started using it, they don't know what this is, like what would you say to them to help them frame what this is, what to do with it, and what's going to happen into the future?
Well, I think education is key. When you think about our history as a human race, if we wanted to keep anyone away from a certain outcome, we stop the flow of information to those people. So just like that, for anyone listening right now and they're thinking, oh, should I even get involved? I think educating yourself on what is happening is probably the foundation. Not necessarily in the sense that, hey, I'm a business owner, let me see how it can make me more productive. Yes, 100%. If that gets you into the door and it's your gateway drug, do it. But the foundation is, how is this working and why should I pay attention? What is happening right now that is getting everyone talking about this? This is not a clubhouse. This is not something that's going to come and go away. It's not a fad. It is a genuine change in the way we operate. Just like industrial age came, we were all scared. What's going to happen when we have all these machines? And it created way more jobs than the jobs that were lost. The same thing happened with the information age when we had all these computers and everyone was losing their minds. You must remember Y2K. Everyone was losing their minds. The world was going to end. That didn't happen. And sometimes our imaginations is kind of get the better of us, and we kind of imagine lots of crazy things that happen. But there's no difference right now in the intelligence age. So understanding how much this is changing the operations, how we work, how we think, how it is commoditizing certain things. Like information, when the information age came along, the best thing that it did was it gave us free access to information that otherwise we'd have to go to the library to get a book, and then even like go through that book and highlight sections and make sense of it, put that together into a diagram, make it relevant, overlay our intelligence over that. That can all be done in seconds right now. And that's the difference. It is like, you have a washing machine, but you're still going to go into the bathroom and wash your clothes with your hands for the next 2.5 hours. That's what's happening right now. And you can use the washing machine and press the button and literally in a few seconds get clean clothes. Or you can do it manually and do it the long way and do it the way you used to do it. But also need to know that it's being commoditized, and the people who did not have your skills, who could, because you learn certain skills, you're attached to it. So you're like, oh, I can only do it. I can do this better, but understand that it's being commoditized. So everyone else has the access to do it just like you did it. And if you don't learn how to use your skills and overlay over the artificial intelligence that can do it so much quicker, then you might be redundant.
What's the one thing that someone can do when they're getting started to come up to speed, to learn this and to get some competency with it?
Yeah, go into ChatGPT and play. I think playing with AI and being playful with it, being open, having different perspectives, trying new things, seeing the responses, being able to learn from the responses and reiterate your questions and prompts, probably the easiest way to start. Definitely follow other people that are credible in the space, that have been doing it before and have some experience in doing the things that you're looking to get done. That way you could just cut your time short. But you could easily just ask ChatGPT, hey, I'm new to this. Can you develop a learning plan for me? This is my competence of this. This is what I do. This is how I'd like to use it. Can you help me learn this? I have 20 minutes a day that I'd like to dedicate to this. Break down a lesson plan for me. Like, you have the ability to create some really, really cool things with AI right now.
Yeah, so great. Ronsley, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate this. And everyone, go check Ronsley out. There'll be some links somewhere around here to some of his work. Anything you want to tell folks about that you're excited about?
Well, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, if you don't mind, Eben, on this, because you're having all these conversations. What are the conversations you're having right now that are really getting your mind going? What are the things that people are saying that are really interesting?
I'm sorry, I can't turn the tables here. I'm not prepared for these questions, Ronsley. Okay. I'll just jam. I'll share some of my favorite ideas. So one of the things I observed is that everyone is calling this technology, right? That's the term that everybody's using. Oh, it's new technology. It's new technology. And so here, let me show you something here. I wanted to share this with you anyway, so this is kind of cool to, jam a little bit. All right, I got my little whiteboard. Okay. So biology, right, is basically the field and the phenomena and the study of life. Yeah. Okay. So technology is basically the field and the phenomena and the study of, let's call it applied science. Okay. Just kind of loosely described here. Right. So I'm like, okay, well, what we're dealing with here the artificial intelligence, particularly the generative intelligence, I just don't think it's technology. And in fact, I think that there's a problem that when you call it technology, you try to fit it into this box, and it's the same mistake as calling a computer a fancy typewriter. It's that same mistake. And so I got a new word I've been playing with here. Intelligy. So that we've got a term that these kind of transcend each other, so that what it does is it helps the mind just open up and go, okay, new field. There's a whole new paradigm here, and I need to open up and make new distinctions, new models, new learnings. And so this right here, it's based on just talking to so many people and having them say, oh, well, it's just the computer or whatever. So that's, I really wanted to share that one with you.
I love it. I love it because, biology is the study of carbon-based life form. Mm-hmm. I think intelligy is silicon-based intelligence.
Exactly. Okay, that's one. You want me to keep wrapping here? Okay. The other thing is that prompting is, are you a musician by any chance, or an artist? And yeah, okay. And so if, for all the musicians out there, when you listen to somebody, I'm a guitar player, I can listen to someone playing the guitar, and there are certain players, like Stevie Ray Vaughan or, Eric Johnson or B.B. King. There are certain players, as soon as especially if you play the guitar, a lot of people, even if you don't, they've got a voice, there's a character, and once you learn to play, you realize, oh, it's not that easy to sound like one of these people because they have their own kind of style. So I'm using this as an example, but when you start interacting with the generative intelligence, whether you're using Midjourney or whether you're using ChatGPT or, one of these miraculous platforms, you start, after you work with it for a while, you start realizing like, oh, it has a personality. It has its own kind of voice, even if it can imitate and, impersonate a lot of things. And so I think that most people, they don't realize that. They're still treating it like, oh, it's a computer, it's a program, it's an algorithm or something. And so that's just these are just coming out, intuitively here. Are these the kind of answers you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, it's really because you're obviously having conversations just like myself, and I love this because it's the transfer of intelligence, right? It's like you're seeing something and you're breaking it down, and you're absolutely right. I think people are misunderstanding this. It's like when Facebook first came out, we called it the internet. And we're making the same mistakes with ChatGPT. We're calling that AI when it is actually the ChatGPT is just an app that has been built by OpenAI, the company that fits onto the model that's GPT-4 or GPT 3.5, depending on what you're using. And we need to understand these concepts. And like when you said, ask me, what should we start doing right now if we have nowhere to, we're just learning this subject. That's what we need to understand is how this is not search, how it's not information, how it's not technology, as you mentioned. And this is a new life form.
Well, thank you so much for the time. I really enjoyed this jam session, Ronsley. Great meeting you.
Likewise, Eben. This is cool. Thank you.
So thank you for watching another Metamind AI interview. Remember to keep practicing prompting, keep learning, get our prompt pack and quick start video, watch our other videos to learn from other AI experts, and stay tuned to us here on Metamind. Stay subscribed because this is going to get really interesting.